Okay, so now let's get into the actual meat of the class. So part one, like I mentioned before, we're going to talk about the Windows tools that are built in. So the first Windows tools we're going to look at is a thing called Disk Cleanup. And what you can do, the easiest way, is just to come down here on the task bar and click in the search box. Alternatively, if you press the Windows key, it'll also open up the program menu. Most everybody knows that here, but it just go into the search box here and type the word disk cleanup. I just typed DI and it filled in automatically with disk cleanup, and here it is right here. It found it. So what we want to do is we want to click on this and open up Disk Cleanup. The first thing Disk Cleanup does is it will open up a drive selection window. Now this is usually the boot drive, is usually drive C. So that's the drive we're going to do Disk Cleanup on. Now you can clean up other drives if you have a USB drive on the system, or if you have like an external hard drive or something like that. But 9 times out of 10 you're just going to use drive C. That's your boot drive. So just let that default to C, and we're going to click OK. And then what the first thing it does is it will calculate how much space is to be freed up. Now on the disk cleanup screen, there's several things here. Some things are important and some things aren't as important. But these are things that it's going to clean up, like downloadable program files, temporary internet files, Windows error reports, DirectX, and delivery optimization files, and so forth. The main ones that are checked are usually the ones that I leave. So the downloaded program files. So downloaded program files are basically like different things that the video uses. There's a technology called ActiveX in Java, and these are things that basically are automatically downloaded from the internet that you need. Like if you go to use a program and it needs a Java, what's called a Java applet, it'll just go out there on the internet and find it and download it, but it leaves it on your computer. Windows leaves a lot of bloat on your computer, and specifically in this case, the downloaded program files you don't need. So we usually check that. Now in my case here, you can see there's 0 available to delete, but that's okay. I've already gone through Disk Cleanup a little bit, and so it cleaned up some stuff, and so now when I've come back around to do the recording of this class, there's nothing there. But I usually always leave that checked. The next section is the temporary internet files, and these are just like web pages that your hard drive stores. So every time you use a browser and go to a website, Chrome, Firefox, Edge, or whatever, there's several of them out there. It downloads the web page, obviously you know that, but it keeps a copy of it on your system, and you can quickly go back. If you ever notice when you load a web page and then you go back to that same page, it loads back quicker. And that's technology that's been around for ever since browsers have been there. It's 25 years, and it leaves a lot of just junk there. These are temporary internet files. We always leave that checked because we're going to clean that up. Some of these other things, Windows error reports, I wouldn't worry about cleaning those up. Again, you can, there's just a small amount here, but these really don't make a big difference. I tell you what, though, you should make sure it's checked is the recycle bin, but just keep in mind if you do clean up the recycle bin, it's going to delete everything that you've deleted. So remember, the recycle bin is there so you can go back and undelete something just in case you accidentally delete it. So just keep that in mind. The second one, or not the second one, but the one below recycle bin is a thing called temporary files. And these are just things that are stored. So Windows has a temporary files folder. We talked about temporary internet, like when we come back up here, there's temporary internet files right there, but there's also temporary folders that Windows uses, and that stores a lot of stuff and keeps a lot of stuff around. So you can check that to remove that. And finally, there's a thing here called thumbnails. These are just, I don't know how big of a difference it will make, but it does, it keeps a copy of all your the different thumbnails of pictures and documents and videos and things like that. So you can delete that. Honestly, it doesn't delete your pictures. Don't think it does. It just deletes like the thumbnail of the picture, which it'll recreate when you open the picture file back up anyway. So I usually, again, we just have these checked off. We do downloaded program files, downloaded temporary internet files, recycle bin, temporary files, and thumbnails. Those are the usually ones that that I keep checked. And then finally, once you select those, you just click Clean Up System Files. It goes through, cleans them up, and you never knew it cleaned them up. It didn't say, congratulations, it cleaned them up. It just did it, because now it took you right back to the disk cleanup screen where it's right back on C. So at this point, you can just close out. There is some optional cleaning up system files. let me see if I can find that. That used to be, now I'm using Windows 10, and from version to version of Windows, they change things. There is that deadline of Windows 10 not getting any support after October of 2025, which we can revisit that on a later video. But let me go back and see if it will pull up the option to clean up the system files. I actually didn't see that in the last window, and I don't know where that is. So let's see if it comes up after it does the scan here. Okay, let's go back into this like we did. This is the disk cleanup screen, the tab that we talked about a few minutes ago. Under more options, this tab over here, there are some things where you can free up space by removing programs you don't use. This is a way to, what it says, it uninstalls programs. If you click the cleanup here, what it will do is open up the uninstall programs and features, which is part of the control panel. Now we're going to come back to this, okay? But if you like the disk cleanup program, like it's your little central area you go in to do things, you can use this button here, which takes you to the exact same place that's in the control panel that we'll talk about in a minute. So that's what this is. So I'm going to skip this right now because we're going to come back to this in a different section. The other thing here is with Windows, what it does is it will keep what's called shadow copies and other points of backup, system restore checkpoints and things like that. If we click clean up here, what it'll do is it'll say, are you sure you want to delete all the most recent checkpoint? That's usually okay to do. Checkpoints are something in Windows that, and if anybody has taken this class and wants to correct me on this, that's fine. But I never really relied on checkpoints. The theory behind a checkpoint is, hey, before I install a program, I'm going to put a checkpoint so that if Windows goes crazy, I can go back and I can restore back to a certain point. I've never had much luck with that, and I've never used it much anyway, so I typically don't use that. So these two features here under the more options, the only one that I really would use would be this option. And again, this option up here takes you into the control panel, add remove programs, which again, we're going to talk about that in just a minute, so I'm not going to do anything here. And then this option, it cleans up checkpoints, but again, I don't know how much space it actually makes on your system. So that is the disk cleanup. There is just to show you a quick tip. Also, if you like shortcuts, we clicked in here and we typed in disk for disk cleanup. But there's a shortcut. What you can also do is you can actually type the name of the program, and the name of the program is actually Clean Manager. So if you were to type in CE or CLEANMGR. That's the actual disk cleanup program. It says disk cleanup, but it's actually cleanmanager.exe. And if you hit that, it takes you right back to the same program. So there are a lot of shortcuts that you can type in. We'll go over some of those, but whether you do DIS for disk cleanup or CLEANMGR for clean manager, either way you get into the disk cleanup. So that's disk cleanup. That's the first Windows utility that helps you clean up your computer.